Hey there, guys. We are rocking. We are live. Thank you so much for joining me tonight. We are here for the Up.School live webinar. All about motivation tonight, all about how to stay motivated and how to turn out results even when you're not feeling motivated. I mean, I don't have all the answers. I've got to say this up front. I don't have all the answers, but what I do know is I can turn out maybe 8 out of 10 days I feel motivated. And even on the shitty days, I can get stuff done. So I want to share with you tonight some ideas. I want to share with you tonight 7 hacks that work for me, that have worked for me, that do work for me, mechanical and mental. And you know what? This is a live Q&A as well. We'll do a Q&A at the end. So maybe we can talk about some of these ideas, some of the things that work for you, don't work for you at the end. So if you have any questions, put them in the chat box right down there in the bottom left-hand corner. Any questions about anything that I talk about tonight, just put them in the chat box. All I'll do is I'll answer those at the end. So hello to everybody. I know you're all busy on hello to, let's see who we've got. Hello to Tokyo, konbanwa. Hong Kong. Hey, Spain. Hola. It's a long time since we've seen somebody from Spain. Actually, we had somebody from Spain last week. I apologize. So hello, Spain. Gibraltar, Spain. Well done. Thanks for turning up. Who else do we have? Indonesia, apa kabar? What else do we have? Osaka, Japan. Some more from Tokyo, Singapore, Hungary, Budapest. Awesome, guys. There's a lot more, but I can't go through the list because we'll take all night. Hello to you all. Thank you very much for turning up tonight. I know you're all busy entrepreneurs. You could be doing other things, watching TV, that kind of thing, but you're here tonight. Invest in yourself. What I'll do is I'll promise to make this hour a good hour for you. You'll learn something that you'll take away and you'll get more than an hour back in terms of your productivity, that kind of thing. And get to ask some questions as well. So what I'll do is I'll share with you some hacks, some easy implementable action points that you can do straight after this. And also, we can talk about some of the ideas at the end, Q&A, as I said, we'll leave some time. What I'll do is I'll try and get through this fast so we can leave more time for the Q&A this week. So off the bat, I want to share with you 3 great books to read. These are 3 recommendations, all right? There's going to be a lot of notes to really have to write everything down tonight. But if you do want to take some notes, make a note of these books. So these are great books that I recommend. I'm going to use some ideas from these books. There's The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People by Stephen Covey, The 4-Hour Work Week by Timothy Ferriss, and The One Thing by Gary Keller. They're all very, very different types of books. I'm going to use ideas from them tonight. I won't explicitly mention these books, but if you've read these books, you'll recognize some of the things that I'm talking about. If you haven't read these books, I thoroughly recommend you do read them. I'll talk about how you can read these real fast as well tonight, how you can get these possibly free as well. Into sitting through and reading 1,000 pages, you can get this and just absorb that information real fast. So if you stick around to the end tonight as well, I'll give you a link where you can download the PDF tonight because there's a lot of information. Rather than sit and taking lots and lots of notes, what I want you to do is focus on the screen, focus on interacting with me, write in the chat box rather than writing down lots of notes. And at the end, stick around and get the PDF so then you can get all the notes anyway you would have written down. So here's the thing, it's a lot of fun starting a business. It's great fun starting a business. You feel real busy, you're really excited, you're running your own thing, you're running your own time, all that kind of thing. You face these new challenges every day and you feel motivated to take on these challenges. But the problem is the motivation soon wears out, right? How do you keep that going? Because at the beginning, you have sort of honeymoon period of starting a business and then the energy drops off. And you know what? This applies to entrepreneurs in the 2nd, 3rd, 5th, 10th years of their business as well. So this applies to everybody. How do you maintain motivation during your entrepreneurial career when you're not surrounded necessarily by people who are pushing you? It's only yourself sometimes. So how do you do that? Because the thing is, motivation is key to success. If you don't have the energy, you're not going to get shit done. That's the reality, right? It's different when you work in an office and your boss is telling you, hey, you've got to do this by tomorrow. When it's yourself, it's completely down to you. It's completely down to your own motivation. So motivation is absolutely key to your success. And it gets real tough when you start a business when the money starts running out, because the motivation starts to dip, and then you start doubts. Is this the right thing to do? Could I be making more money if I stuck out my normal job that I left for this gig, right? So how do you stay motivated through all of this? I want to share with you some of my hacks. I've got 7 hacks I want to give you tonight. I'm going to give you some tips as well that I want you to take away. Not all of these tips are going to work for you, all right? But if you could just implement one of these tips and make it work in your daily business, you're going to see results. So I'm going to give you 7 options. If you can use just one of those, you're going to see results. And this hour that you spend with me now, with us now, you get plenty return on that investment of back if you make that tip work. So the first one is staying active. I know a lot of people talk about staying fit and stuff like that as important to business, but the key is here that energy absolutely is the key to motivation, because it's a mechanical thing, right? More than anything, it's not a mental thing. You won't have the motivation. So how do you maintain energy? You're not a robot. You're not going to turn out 18 hours at full tilt every day, day after day. How do you maintain that energy? Look, it's 7 o'clock at night here in Japan and I'm still going. How do I do that? I'm 44 years old. I'm not a young chick, all right? So how do I maintain it? How do I maintain my energy levels? So the key here is to challenge your assumption of normal hours, okay? The thing is this: you go to school, you start school in the morning and you finish, 3, 4, 5 o'clock in the afternoon. Then you get a job, you start in the morning and you finish at 6 or 7 in the evening. And then when you start a business, you kind of continue what you've learned for over 20 years. It's been drilled into you. It's been drilled into you in the way that, if you come to school late, you get punished. If you come to work late, you get punished. If you can't leave work early. So it's been drilled into you for years and years and years. So when you start thinking about normal hours, this is what we've been conditioned with. And it's kind of like this. You may find that you are a little bit like this. I was a little bit like this. Is you kind of start, let me draw the productivity curve for the busy entrepreneur, right? This is the curve I'm going to draw on this graph here. You start work in the morning, you screw around, coffee, that kind of thing, check your emails, and then you have this sort of productive spurt, maybe sort of late morning, and then you sort of potter around, you have lunch, and then you have that kind of anaconda effect where you're sitting there like, oh, I've just digested 10 rice balls. And that carbohydrates is sort of digesting in your gut, and your productivity is dying off. You're feeling a little bit tired. You start work and you're going to stick at it, but then it's sort of, you have your second cup of coffee and you get this second wind and then you stick it out. And this is kind of how many entrepreneurs work their days. They kind of say, well, I'll work till 6 or 7, but they end up working to 9, 10 o'clock and onwards, right? Because being as effective as they want it to be. And that's a real problem, because what they've then done is they end up working 14-hour days and maybe 6 days a week. So that's what, 64 hours a week without a break. If you're an entrepreneur running your own business, you don't get an hour lunch, all right? You get 64 hours a week non-stop. That's how it is. And when you go to bed, you're still thinking about business. And that's a problem here, because, you've got all this time, especially here where you're being really unproductive. And the reason is you've been trained for 20 plus years about how to work like this. You couldn't go to school and take a 3-hour lunch break, maybe unless you're Spanish. That's how Spanish are. But if you're not Spanish, you can't take a 3-hour lunch break, all right? So what do? You just have to work through it. All right, and if you're lucky, if you work in an office, you get 30 minutes, all right, maybe have a job at the desk, that kind of thing. So, what do you do in this situation? Well, the key here is to accept that your energy levels are going to change throughout the day and work with them rather than against them, because that's absolutely key to motivation. So it's kind of like this. This is my day. So I get up at, well, before 7 o'clock. I cycle for an hour. I start work at 8. I have a very productive time from 8 to about 11. Let's call this 11. Or maybe 12 o'clock on some days if I'm feeling really up for it. Really productive. I just bang out the main thing that I have to do for the day. I just focus on that. Right, I'll get this done from 8 to 11 or 12 o'clock. Just do this one thing. I don't check emails. I don't take calls. I don't respond to anybody. I just do this one thing that I need to get done. And at 12 o'clock, I stop. And then from 12 to 3, I don't work. I take time off. I go to the gym. I have lunch, because I understand that naturally for me, it may be different for you, but my energy levels between 12 and 3 drop right out in terms of creativity, that kind of thing. So I go to the gym. I go to the gym for an hour and a half. I don't feel guilty about it. I can motivated. I have lunch. I don't feel guilty about it. And at 3 o'clock, I'll start again. And then I'll have this second period where my energy levels are really high. And then again, if I need to, I'll stop at 6 and I'll start again maybe later on in the evening. But the key here is work with your energy levels, and don't be afraid about breaking out of this normal mindset about what your hours should. Don't stick it at 8 till 8, because you won't get a lot done. If you try and grind it out, you'll end up demotivated and less productive. Double down on your productive hours. That is my advice to you tonight. Double down on your productive hours and take time off. Honestly, you will see huge results in terms of your productivity. So that's one tip that I want to give you tonight. Beware the 12-hour session. Here's another thing. Stay active. You know what? I just bought this. I wonder if I can show you here. You can see this thing. This is a Xiaomi Mi Band, which is basically like a fit. I bought it for about $30 off AliExpress. You can get it off AliExpress as well. But what it does is every hour it buzzes. So during this during this webinar, it may buzz and tell me to get up and around. So if I start getting up and moving around in this webinar, you think, what the hell is this guy doing? It's because of this thing, all right? This similar kind of app installed in a smartwatch. You can get it on a smartphone. You can get these things installed on your PC, like the Pomodoro app, which tells you to take a break every 25 minutes and so on. Psychologists have found out that the human being has an attention span of about 18 to 20 minutes. Okay. And, that's if you head talks, they're all about 18 minutes long, right? They don't go any longer, because they know after 18 minutes, your attention starts to drop. And it's the same with your physical activity. If you stay in your seat for an hour, your motivation drops right off. The key here is to get up and move around. Just get up and move around. Get up and move around, guys. Get one of these. So seriously, beware sitting on your ass for 12 hours a day, because you will not get motivated. The human being is not designed to sit still for long periods of time. I have an office chair. I know guys who've got Swiss balls, those big bouncy balls. They sit on those because they like bouncing all day. They claim that works. They say it's great for motivation. I know people that stand up and work during the day. I've done that. I used to do that in my old office. It works really well for motivation. There's so many things you can do. Break out of that traditional way of sitting on your ass for 12 hours a day. So that's one tip. So motivation tip straight off the bat. Get a Mi Band, a smartwatch, or a Pomodoro timer for your laptop. A Pomodoro timer is basically, you can kind of set it to 25 minutes or 45 minutes or an hour or whatever, and beep and tell you to get up and walk around. I prefer this because it's more analog in the sense that it actually vibrates on my hand, and I don't have to keep setting it. So I had to get up. Today I've had it twice go off of me because I've been sitting and I've been writing stuff. I think, oh shit, I've got to get up and move around. But it's great, just 5 minutes, get up and move. your motivation is refreshed. Hit that reset button. So the key here is to work when you're motivated and rest when you're not, and not be afraid to break out of that traditional cycle, that 12 hours. That's an industrial way of doing things, where you sat in a factory and you knocked out widgets day in, day out. You know, if everybody in the factory got up and walked around or took long breaks, the factory would fall apart, it would collapse. But we don't work in factories anymore. We work in a creative, intelligent industry. So we have to think about building around those sort of energy levels that we have as human beings and not fighting them. So the second tip, hack that I want to share with you, and I think this is so important, is setting goals, big goals. You know, and not just to set goals, but to review and visit your goals daily. These guys, you know, and digital and stuff, but I can tell you these things are so valuable. This is a notepad. For you young kids, this is a notepad. I'm not even patronizing, but you know, I don't see many people using these days. But you know, these are fantastic things, all right? Because I know it's tempting to say, yeah, I do that. I write that in my smartphone. I write my goals down. But there's something very, very different about taking a pen and a paper and writing down your goals, because it's a physical thing. It commits your body to the action of actually writing this thing down. So write down your goals, you know, what you want to achieve in years, months, weeks, and days. Write this stuff down and revisit it. Every morning, what I do before I start, after my cycle ride, the first thing I do, I don't look at emails. Don't get into that. Don't check your email. Email can wait. Rather than check your email, I look at my notebook and look at my goals. I just remind myself, yeah, that's what I'm trying to do. That's what I'm trying to do right now. And that 5 minutes reviewing your goal is worth 5 hours, 5 days, 5 months in terms of time saved. And the motivation you get from that is tremendous, because you're not then reacting to the day. You know, if you're then starting facing emails and clients and stuff, you can keep focused on that goal. And the key here, as an entrepreneur, remember this: you will spend 95% of course. It's like flying a plane or steering a boat. And I spoke to one of my friends who was an ex-air traffic controller, and he agrees with me, an entrepreneur as well now. He agrees with me. Planes spend 95% of their time off course. And the reason they spend 95% of their time off course is, like you and like me as entrepreneurs, we're blown around, we're buffeted by the winds of circumstance. You know, this email comes in or this client has a problem. We're blown off course. And that's what we do. But the reason the plane can land at its destination is because it has a goal. It's got to get to this point. So the pilot of the plane keeps steering that plane back on course. And that's what you have to do with your business. If you don't have very, very clear goals, you will get blown off course all the time. Okay? Have goals. You keep focused on the main thing. And this is from The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People by Stephen Covey. This one line, I think, is one of the most powerful lines, one of the most powerful maxims in business. The main thing is to keep the main thing the main thing. I know it sounds crazy, but think about it. The main thing is to keep the main thing the main thing. So the biggest challenge in your business is to make sure that your biggest challenge remains your biggest challenge, all right? You get it? So make time for that. Make time. Remind yourself every day what that biggest challenge is, because you will face constant problems all the time. Problem, crisis. It's the 7th wave is a crisis. You will always have problems in business. Being an entrepreneur is about problem. If you don't have problems, you're not in business. So the key is whilst you're facing these problems, you have this focus. You keep bringing yourself back on course with these goals. So my motivation tip for you now: get a notebook. I know it sounds crazy. It's not an app. It's not a website. It's a physical analog notebook. But these things work, man. They are so powerful. Successful people, I have some very successful friends, and the interesting thing is pretty much every single one of them has a notebook. They may have the moleskin notebooks they pull out in a meeting. These things, they have tablets, they have smartphones. Be afraid. Paper, pen, fantastic. It's the way to go in the digital world. So, third one, staying motivated. Absolute key here is you've got to take out the demotivators. You've got to detox the junk. What am I talking about? You know junk food, all right? You're well aware what junk food is. You've been taught junk food from the moment you went into school. You turn on the TV, everything is talking about junk food, junk food. You know what junk food is, and you know it's not, and you know you shouldn't eat a lot of it. Maybe once in a while is okay, but every day if you had a burger from McDonald's, you've seen the movie Super Size Me, all right? Well, you know what's going to happen to you. So you're very careful about what you put into your belly, but are you also careful about what you put into your head? And this is what I think is junk media. You got to detox this stuff, okay? If you want to be a successful entrepreneur, you have to be very careful about the influences that you put in your head. And there's a lot of junk media out there. I'm talking about TV, magazines, newspapers. This stuff is not designed to turn you into a good entrepreneur. And the reason is because it makes you fearful and passive. Open the newspaper, pick any headline. I guarantee you one headline on that page that you're showing me that's going to make you fearful of something or somebody, disease, brown people, terrorists, crime, whatever. That doesn't make you a good entrepreneur. If you're constantly focused on fear, then your brain is activated by your fear receptors. They call it the lizard brain. It's your primeval brain, all right? It's not what drives the entrepreneur, because if you're driven by fear, you can't be an abundant entrepreneur. You can't go out there and be motivated. You become defensive, all right? So the key is to turn this shit off. And I mean, it's shit because it's not good for you. Turn the TV off. You know, it's full of advertising and celebrities. It's not good for your brain. Some of the most successful entrepreneurs I know don't watch TV at all. It's a waste of their time. So if you watch TV and you're an entrepreneur, you've got to think about, well, could I maybe cut back on this? You don't necessarily need those magazine subscriptions. You don't necessarily need to read newspapers. Take a junk media diet. And instead of junk media, what I want you to do is think about replace that with the good stuff. So this is like the health food. You know it's good for you. You know junk media, maybe it's easy, it's comfortable. But here's the health food, and you know you're going to live longer, and ultimately you're going to feel better, and you're going to have energy and motivation as a result of it. Make time for the good stuff. Every successful entrepreneur makes time for the good stuff. So what is the good stuff? So the good stuff, like here, me right here, right now, that's the good stuff. You're making time, you're investing in yourself, which is fantastic, all right? Because it's a muscle. Motivation is a muscle that you have to exercise. You know, I think of it like this, and I'm going to talk a little bit about the influence of other people around you tonight, how they impact your motivation. Motivation is a muscle. It's kind of like not being motivated is like gravity. Gravity, you're constantly being pulled down to earth, all right? So if you're an entrepreneur, you've got to beat your wings to fly. And that's constant effort, constant exercise, all right? You've got to keep doing it. You think, well, why do I have to keep doing this stuff? Why can't I just read this one book and then that's it? Because that's not how it works. It's like washing. You've got to do it every day. It's the same with motivation. You've got to do it invested yourself. So one thing you've got to think about is ring fence some time. Make time. New ideas, new stories, new inspiration. Invest in yourself. Because I see this as an investment. You know, you are your greatest asset. I know that's an overused analogy, but it really is. One of the things, if you've ever listened to or read Tony Robbins, one of the things he says, look, you know, if you want to change your life, you have to change yourself. So if you want to improve, if you want to become more successful, you have to change who you are first. Because what you have right now, right here, right now, so the money you're making right now, the results you have right now, the situation you have right now is a direct result of who you are. It's the result of your best strategies. So you've done everything you can and you're here, right now. So if you want to change that, if you want to improve, it ain't going to happen using the same strategies that you have already. You have to upgrade who you are and learn new things, okay? So this is what I feel we as entrepreneurs need to do. We have to tell a better story about ourselves. If you want to live a better life, you have to tell a better story. And the way to do that is to learn the stories from other people, learn about successful people, learn about what works, learn the techniques, study, become a student of success. If you want to be a successful entrepreneur, you have to study this stuff. It doesn't just come to you. And focus on this daily, every day. As I said, make time for this stuff. You know, what I do in that downtime that I just talked to you about, when I showed you midday between 1 o'clock and 3 o'clock or 4 o'clock, what I do is I get a pair of wireless headphones and I turn on YouTube on the laptop, and I've got various videos that I want to watch on YouTube, like not necessarily motivational, but educational stuff. It could be really tactical stuff like teaching me about generation or SEO, or it could be sort of more strategic stuff telling me about mindset and so on. And I'll put the headphones on, I'll get away from the computer, connect via Bluetooth and walk around. I'll do stuff in the house, do my chores, do my washing, whatever it is that I have to do. But I get away from the computer and I'll be walking around and I have this stuff in my ears, and that is my time. I can do it half an hour, an hour of that every day, and that's half an hour that people will be wasted having lunch, because I can have lunch in that time anyway, right? Or just kind of like surfing the internet and doing whatever, right? So the key here, do it every day, be consistent. Because here's the interesting thing, a very successful investor friend, he taught me this, very, very simple. If you improve 2% a day, you'll double in 36 days. That's the math. 2% every day, you'll double in 36 days. So let's say, for example, activity. Well, rather than thinking about doubling your productivity, think about what you need to improve every day. You only need to improve your productivity 2% day on day, every day, because those compound gains will double after 36 days. It's called the rule of 72. Anybody in finance should know it. So one thing you can do, I have the 0 to 1 launch your business course. If you're interested in that, go and check it out after this webinar. It's a great way for you to get up and start building your business. It's really just to help you build business from scratch, or if you have a business already, take that out to get your first paying customer. Keep improving, keep pushing forward. But the key here is to remember this, that don't overdo it. Success is a marathon, not a sprint. You're in this for the long term, guys. You're not going to be successful in weeks or months. It's going to take years, because that's what it does for people. Some people get very, very lucky, but it's very difficult to replicate that success. So you've got to go into this. The motivation part of this is you've got to understand that it's going to take you a long time to be successful. It's like growing. You've got to plant seeds and the seeds grow. It doesn't happen overnight. It takes work. It takes diligence. You've got to water. You've got to look after this stuff, all right? So the key to motivation, maintaining your motivation, is to set the expectations. This stuff takes a long time. If you want to be successful, you've got to think in terms of years, not months. You're not going to turn this thing around in a month. This thing takes years. So set your expectations right and you'll be fine. So here's some ideas for you. I want to hit you with some ideas. All right, there's a website here called listentoyoutube.com. All right. Now, if you go to listentoyoutube.com, you can put in the link of any YouTube video, and what it would do is convert that video into an MP3 file for you, and you could download that MP3 file to your phone or your MP3 player or whatever, that you use to listen to this stuff. So that's, think about what you could do. There's a great video on YouTube that you want to watch. There's a presentation that you find quite motivating, or a speech, or a TED talk, or whatever it is, or even one of my videos, for God's sake. You can go on there, convert it into an MP3 and take it away. So when you're out cycling, when you're out running, when you go to the gym, when you're on the train in the morning, when you're lying in bed at night, whatever it is, wherever your time is, you can listen to this thing, all right? You're not watching it. You're just tuned in to the audio. So that works really well. Use that dead time. Henry Ford said that successful people get ahead in the time that others waste. So you think about it. If you want to be successful, the key here is to use time that normal people, quote unquote, you know who I'm talking about, the normal people, they really don't get what you're doing with your business right now. The time that they waste watching TV, commuting. If you can use that time, if you commute 2 hours a day, that's 10, maybe 14 hours a week. Well, that's 500 hours a year. You could learn so many things in that time. Use it. Be smart. Use this time. Founder FM. If you haven't listened to Founder FM already, the point about Founder FM is exactly this. I want to share with you some great stories from entrepreneurs, successful entrepreneurs. Go and check out Founder FM. It's now part of school. You can go and listen to the stories of entrepreneurs, how they did it. Change your expectations. Challenge you think is possible. Audible is a service run by Amazon where you can go and listen to audiobooks, get them on subscription. Audiobooks are fantastic. I think they're a great way for people to learn, especially if you don't have time to read a 1,000-page book. Like, for example, 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. If you're interested, go on to YouTube, search for 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. You'll find audio summaries of it, 20 slides. Chuck it into listentoyoutube.com. Boom. You've got somebody summarizing the book for you in 20 minutes rather than spending weeks and weeks reading that book. And of course, the Up.School 0 to 1 course. So let's move on. Guys, this is so important for your motivation. 80% of your motivation is a function of the people that you hang around with. All right? You've heard me say this before. You are the sum of the 5 people basis. So think about that. But who are the 5 people you hang around with on a daily basis? Are they entrepreneurial? Are they risk takers? Do they motivate you? Do they challenge your assumptions? Or are they the kind of people that doubt what you're doing? That is so important because, we human beings are social animals. Whether you think that you are tough or not doesn't matter. We are social animals. We will adapt whether we want to or not to the norm of the group that we hang around with. And the interesting thing is we'll do it subconsciously. So we'll hang around with these people and we'll change to become more like them. So if you hang around people that like drinking and going out a lot and, they like boozing and they don't like business and they just like, that kind of thing, you'll become more like those people. You will adapt and adopt their mindset. Okay, but if you hang around with people that are into business, that work hard, are motivated, you'll become like them, whether you want to or not. So hang around people. And the key here is one of the biggest mistakes I see entrepreneurs make is this. Selling, I hear this so many times from you guys, from people that work with on my mastermind course, people who join the e-course, people I mentor, startups I invest in, whatever. People that come to these webinars, they sell to the unsold. What am I talking about? Selling to the unsold. So you've got this great business idea, all right? You've got this great business idea. And what you do is you then go and tell people about your business idea. And what do? Not sure about that. That's what they do. They give you that reaction. And then how do you react? You try and sell them harder. It's going to work. Stop selling to the unsold, because if there's a number one suck for motivation, it's trying to convert people to get across to your idea and business. Avoid the people who just don't get it. They will never change. They will never change. They will give you this. They will give you yes, but. but how do you think about this? Whatever you say to them, they will change the goalpost. They will move whatever it is. They'll give you a new target. You cannot ever satisfy these people. Don't ever waste your energies on these people. You are an entrepreneur. You are not a robot. You're a human being. You have so much motivation, but it's limited. It's important you save the motivation for the right people, and you don't waste the motivation on the people who don't get it. Hanging your head against the wall. It's no fun, and it's very demotivating. These people will crush your ideas, and the thing is, they're watching you. They're waiting for you to fail. That's the thing. It's like normal people never fail. Why? Because they never try. And they're waiting for you to fail. You're starting your business, and they say, yeah, great idea. Well done, Graham. But secretly, deep down, they can't wait for you to fail. They never say it. But you know what? When you fail, you know what they're going to say to you? Well, maybe you should go back to the normal world. Maybe you should get a proper job now. You've had your time. You've done your thing. Now go and get a proper job. Go and get a safe job now. Because they're not thinking about you. They're thinking about them. The reason why they say this is because if you then go back and you get a normal job, it reconfirms to them why they should have never thought about starting their own business in the first place. It vindicates for them the reason why they should never think about starting their own business. And it proves to them that starting a business is risky, it's stupid, all those kind of things. So those people want you to fail. So hanging around with those people will demotivate you. Unfortunately, some of those people are your family and friends. All right, I know. I know exactly. Your friends are not. I'm not born into a family of Tony Robbins, normal people, and I love them, and my friends the same, right? But you then have to choose that. Okay, I'm not going to waste my time talking about business with these people. So when they ask me about my business, I just don't tell them. Yeah, it's fine. How's business? Yeah, it's cool. They're not interested. I save my energy for people like him, people like you. And you should do sell to the sold. So when you go to a networking meeting, here's a bit of advice. You go to a networking meeting and a meetup, right? You go to a meetup and somebody asks you what you do. Give them a really ballsy answer. Don't give them a really edited answer. Give them, yeah, I do this and all that big answer, rather than the sort of very soft answer that you think might not offend them and so on. And you know what? Oh, that's interesting, and walk away. Fantastic. That's the response that you want. You've scared them off. What you want is the guy or the girl that says to you, well, that's fantastic. Tell me more. I want to know more about that. How did you do this? What sort of challenges you faced? Because then you found somebody who gets it. All right? Sell to the sold. Stop selling to the unsold. And then these people seek out the problem solvers. So beware of people that are constantly talking about problems. Constantly talking about problems, complaining, bitching, negative, talking about news, that kind of thing, talking about celebrities. Ignore these people. If they talk about it, just kind of move on. Find the people that focus on solutions. Find the people that talk about dreams, that talk about goals, that talk about, long-term ideas, these kind of things. Move more of those people into your social circle, and you will be more motivated by default. Okay, you don't need all these people into your life. That's what you need to do. Okay, you don't need to change yourself. You just need to get more people into your life. And here's the thing. One of the things I see a lot of entrepreneurs do is they edit themselves. And this is really sad. Actually, this is kind of sad on a personal, non-business level. So let me talk a little bit about this. If you need to edit your identity, you're hanging around with the wrong people. Okay, so think about, then these people aren't good for you. So you have to make a decision. Do I hang around with these people, or do I find new people to bring into my life? Okay, and that's a tough decision. And you know what? Because that's a tough decision, a lot of people aren't able to do it. And that's the gap, the barrier between success. Face down and take tough decision. And People think starting a business is just going out and working hard. It's not. You've got to think about all these things, like, for example, who you hang around with. And if I can point to every successful person I know, at some point in their life, they've had to leave people behind. And those people that they left behind have always, you're a sellout. You forgot about me. You got to do it. You got to weigh it up. What's more important? Fulfilling your own life dreams or keeping somebody happy that may be good for you long term? That's a tough decision. Maybe not what you want to hear, but you've got to think about this. Join a meetup. So go out there and join a meetup. Find these people, plant a flag and let these people rally around, or join a mastermind. If you don't have a mastermind in your area, talk to me about the Up.School mastermind. I want everybody here tonight to join the Up.School mastermind because you've invested the time to come to this webinar. Therefore, you understand the value of learning, hanging around with the right people and getting knowledge from the right places. Therefore, you should join a mastermind, a group of entrepreneurs who do this for each other. How motivating would that be to hang around with a group of people who push you, pull you, lift you up, not crush you, not doubt you, not ask you the wrong questions and doubt what you're doing, but ask you the questions that make you, fire you up. There's a great quote. I don't have it here. It's just come to my head. It's a great quote by the poet Rumi, and he says, "Set your life on fire. Seek those who fan your flames. Set your life on fire. Seek those who fan your flames." So just go and do it. Set your life on fire. Go out there for long term. So moving on, pace yourself. I've talked about why it's a marathon, not a sprint. You know what? Every day is not going to be amazing. It's always a rainbow ride, no matter how much people say it is when you look at their blogs, all that kind of thing. It ain't. All right? There's a shit load of shit days. And I have them. Even though I consider myself quite successful, I have shit days. You know what? I'm just not feeling it. So what do you do? Well, how do you stay motivated even when you have a shit day? Well, here's a couple of things that you could do, because you will have shit days. Maybe you'll have shit days every week. Hopefully not. But let me give you some advice. The first thing is to break your goals down. If you've got goals, they can kind of be a little bit demotivating. You look at it and think, that's going to take forever. Well, what you got to do is you got to break this thing down. All right, let's talk about how you can do that. Break down your goals. And I want to talk about, hey, I think about breaking down goals. Here's a picture of me when I was doing the Ironman triathlon. I just had to get this in tonight because I like talking about triathlon. I'm a bit of a freak when it comes to triathlon. This is me running. If you know triathlon, and I know some of you have done triathlon here tonight, so I'm glad to share. For those of you who don't, triathlon is a swim, a bike, and a run. It's a 4K swim, 180K bike, and you finish with the marathon. This is me on the marathon. When you're running the marathon, you're in the suck. You're dying. You are 8 hours. You've done an 8-hour race, and then you run a marathon, and you are dying. And when I'm running this, it's like 30 degrees centigrade. I'm dying. My feet are bleeding. I've got blisters. I'm on painkillers. Blah blah blah. All that kind of thing. You do this non-stop. You don't have you do the whole thing non-stop. So I know a few things about breaking it down. So how do you break down such a massive goal? This is a 12.5-hour race non-stop. And I am 44 years old. I'm not some young whippersnapper who can do this thing, just like, with a bowl of cornflakes for breakfast. I have to prepare for this stuff mentally as well. You've got to break this down. So what you do, like the marathon part of it, when you come off the bike and go into the marathon, that is so motivating. You've just done 180K, which is a 6-hour bike ride, and you are wasted. You are tired. And then you go into the changing tent and you realize you've got to run a marathon. Most people will just say, screw that. I'm not doing that. There's no way I could run a marathon. But we've got to break this down. Rather than a marathon, what I said was, well, a marathon's 42K running. At that point, I had never run a marathon in my life. So this was the first marathon I ever going to run, and I was going to do it after 8 hours of racing. Well, what I did was break it down. 42K is actually almost 4 times 10K. All right, a 10K is fine. I can run 10K, no problem. I can run 10K, and then I can run another 10K, and another 10K, and another 10K. So for me, mentally, to break that down was really important. And each 10K, I'd set times in my head that I needed to do this. And I had like a little list with me I took on the race, and I wrote down the times I needed to do. I'll be here at this time, and so on. So I wasn't focused on running a marathon. I was only focused on running 10K. I did 10K. I did another 10K. You know what? When I did that 10K, I said, I'm not going to sit down now because I thought, well, I've come this far. There's no way I'm going to give up now. Let me just do the next 10K. And if I felt tired, what I said to myself was, don't worry about it. Think about tiredness when you get to the end of the next 10K. Just turn it off for now. Get to the end of the 10K and then decide. And I got to the end of the 10K and I thought, right, well, I might as well do another one now. So the key here is breaking this down. So if you think about this, right now, you're here, you have this big goal. What you should think about is, rather than just set yourself these massive goals, start thinking about medium term. So if you've got a big goal, like, I want to launch this product, that can be quite demotivating because that may take you months. Okay, break that down into weeks and days. So rather than focus on the marathon, which can be really demotivating, focus on what your next target only is. Because this, sports psychologists have shown, if you can focus on a near-term achievable target, it's so much more motivating than focus on something you may feel is too much. So get into the habit of breaking everything down, because momentum is absolutely key here. Absolutely key. Here's one thing that I do. If I ever get faced with this situation, when I'm just, I don't have a word for it. That feeling, just some days like, what's the word for that in your language? I don't know. I get that sometimes. Even though I consider myself successful, I get, when you're not feeling it, you're just not feeling it. Well, the key here is you've got to ask yourself, well, what can I do today? I want to go back to sport a little bit. And triathlon again. Let me just squeeze that in once again before we go back to business. It's like, I got to go out and train this morning, get on the bike. I'm not feeling it. I get on the bike, it's cold, maybe it's a little bit of rain, I don't feel like it. What do? Well, don't think about going out and training. Only think about putting your clothes on. So, I put on my cycling clothes. I've got my cycling clothes on, put the helmet on, and then, I'm kind of there. I've already got momentum. And, it's a lot easier now for me to go out and get on the bike. So it's the same with business. If you ever get into this situation where you just feel completely, or whatever it is, the question you've got to ask is, well, what can I do today? And think of the smallest thing that you can possibly do. It's just something really small. Like, for example, let's say you've got to write a 10,000 document. You're writing an ebook, 10,000 word document. You look at that and you think, whatever your reaction is, whatever the word is in your language, that 10,000 words is totally demotivating. So how do you do it? My advice would be, don't think about 10,000 words. All I want you to do is open a Word document or whatever you use to create your document. Open a Word document, name it, save it. That takes you 5 seconds. I guarantee if you do that, you've already got a little bit of momentum. It's kind of like that analogy I use, putting your cycling clothes on. If you're ever feeling this complete lack of motivation, complete lack of momentum, think of this very, very small first step. It's like a momentum, a small snowball that you can build up and get bigger and bigger and bigger. It absolutely works. This is a fantastic way to get yourself out of those shit days where you're just absolutely not feeling it. So motivation tip is to break down your goals into years, months, weeks, and days. Get yourself one of these, as I said earlier, and break it down. And then, you know, if you use software like Evernote as an example, or you use your smartphone, you know, on my smartphone, I have a link that links to a page on Evernote. It tells me what my goals are for today. And I review that I've broken it like that. I'm not thinking about 12 months right now. You know, I'm not thinking about the marathon. I'm just thinking about putting my shoes on and moving forward. Lastly, before we go into Q&A, guys, don't forget this. Because if you want to stay motivated, don't forget this is probably the biggest problem that we entrepreneurs have, is we forget to celebrate our goals. Even though they may be small, they may not be meaningful in, you know, the big scheme of things. It's really important, because, you know, if you celebrate, what you do is you reinforce in your mind and your subconscious that good feeling of achievement. What tends to happen is this: right, I've just launched my website, my business is up and ready. What do I do next? I've now got to do this. I've got to work on, or I've got my first customer. Yes. Okay, move on. I've got to get my second customer. That's kind of what entrepreneurs do. We're kind of driven really hard in terms of driving ourselves. We're driving ourselves to the next goal. And the problem with that is eventually you will demotivate yourself, because your brain will learn there's absolutely no benefit in achieving these goals. Because what happens is when you achieve that goal, it's just more of the same. You know, the brain knows, the brain is lazy. It doesn't want to work hard. You know, even though you think yourself you're hardworking, your brain's quite lazy. Well, if I achieve this goal, you're just going to give me more shit. I'm not going to do it. I'm just going to take my time. It's the same anyway. So don't forget to celebrate, because then your brain will learn, yeah. I want to get that goal. As a cookie at the end of it, right? You've got to train your brain like you would train a dog, because that's how we are, right? We're just animals at the end of the day. You know, share your goals with others. That's why it's great to be part of a mastermind. Share your goals, because when you do achieve, these guys remind you, hey, well done, guy. You know, you got your first, fantastic, and you're thinking, oh, yeah, that's a major achievement for me, all right? Share your goals with others. Be part of a group. Be part of a meetup or a mastermind. And share your goals and let them celebrate with you. You know, no matter how big or small those goals are. Like I said, getting your first customer is a major achievement in business. Starting your business, up your website, whatever, celebrate. You know, whatever it is. You don't have to go out and, you know, go large on celebration. You could literally just go to the convenience store and buy yourself a beer. Whatever it is. But just reward your brain, because your brain will ultimately be in control in the long term, right? And here's the thing, I want to end with a quote from my favorite movie, Ferris Bueller's Day Off, which I think is a great quote for motivation. He says, life moves pretty fast. If you don't stop to look around once in a while, you could miss it. At the end of the day, that's what it's all about. You know, if you fly through the next 10 years of being an entrepreneur without celebrating anything along the way, what's going to happen is one day you'll be 10 years older and you think, what the F-U-C-K just happened? And you won't remember any of it. And that is the biggest waste, because you're on this amazing adventure right now. So don't waste it. So take time out and celebrate, guys. Don't forget to do that. I think that's a great way to reinforce in your brain the importance of achieving goals and motivating you to the next one. So if you're interested in the course, as I said, you know, go and check it out. We'll head to Q&A in a minute. I know you stuck around to the front, guys. I really appreciate that. So I will give you, we'll do the Q&A, and then I'll do a download link so you can, how you can start again. So you can download the PDF from today, because there's so much notes and I know there's a lot to take on. So, you know, the fact that you concentrated and you stuck it out to the end, stick around for the next couple of minutes. I'll put the download link up there. So let me just try and answer your questions now. Hey, look, guys, look. Look, it's telling me to get up and move around. So I'm going to get up and move around for a couple of minutes, and then I will answer your questions. All right, let's do this. Okay, so So many tips, ways to change our mindset, life at the end. But what is the one first actionable step, the first 2% to take today in order to develop our motivation? Akos, great question. Let me try and answer that whilst I'm standing up here. I'm sort of squatting here. Blame this thing here. Goals. Do you visit your goals every day? That's 2%. That's the momentum, because that's kind of like, it's like this huge ball that you have to push, right? You can't push it. But if you can just kind of get it moving slowly, the whole thing gathers momentum. And, the most important thing is writing down your goals, revisiting them on a daily basis. I think that is the base of all motivation, because just the process of doing that commits your brain to action. That is getting you focused. Spend 95% of your time off course, no matter how focused you are, no matter how active you are, no matter how productive you're flying in the wrong direction. You're never going to get to your destination. So the key here is to that 2%. 5 minutes. Start with 5 minutes every day. Take a piece of paper. If you don't have, you must have a piece of paper. I'm underestimating your capacity here. Take a piece of paper. Write down your goals. Like after this webinar, write down the 3 things that you want to achieve in this. When you come in the morning, look at that thing first thing, and just do that on every day. Get into the habit of doing it. Or adapt that. Whatever that works for you, just get into the habit of doing that every day. That is so important. So important. That's the first 2% step. Hopefully that works. Try it out, Akos. Let me know how you get on. Jamie, may I celebrate too much? I don't know. How do you celebrate, man? You tell me. How do you celebrate? Is too much too much? Do you overdo it? So any kind of celebration is good, but you kind of, it's got to be real, right? It's kind of like, have you faced a challenge? Did you achieve that? Celebrate what you think is appropriate for you and share it with the people that count for you. That's all I can say. Is too much too much? If you're sort of lying on a park bench by the end of the night, is that too much? You tell me. I don't know. Can you explain, Chris King, can you explain in more detail how you document and manage your goals in Evernote? All right, let me. Do you use Evernote first? I'll assume that you don't, for the benefit of everybody else. Okay, so Evernote is a great piece of software. I use Evernote on my laptop, and I use Evernote on my phone, and basically I sync the two. What I do is I have a, so, okay, I have to go really in deep here, but I'll just give you the top level of what I do. So there's 2 documents in there that I have that I work with. The first one is my goals, which is sort of, like what I want to do in the next year. So I write down what I want to do. I get real specific. So I want to, that kind of things that I want to do. What do I want to achieve? Those kind of things. I just kind of write down as much as I can, visualize it, get real specific with this stuff. All right. For example, if I want to do an Ironman, I write down when and where I want to do it. Okay. So that's my top level goals document. And then what I do is I break it down into months. So this is what I want to achieve in months, and this is what I want to achieve in days. So for example, this week, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, I have 5 documents, and in each document, what I want to achieve. And it's really fluid. I think the key here is it's fluid. You keep looking at it, adopting it, adapting it, and changing it. But you got to go back to the main top level goal, reviewing this stuff on a regular basis. So it's kind of like, how do I explain? Is it like a pyramid or a funnel? I don't know. It's kind of like an upside down pyramid. You've got top level goals, or maybe it's the other way around. However you want to visualize it, you've got these big goals, medium term goals, short term goals, and I have documents for each one of those, and I keep going into it and reviewing it and changing it. And just that process, I'll spend probably 20 minutes a day on that. Some recently 5, 10 minutes, 15 minutes, some days 20 minutes. Okay. So, but I think whatever it is, I think if you want to do this real easy, the easiest way, because I've developed a system that works for me, what works for me is not going to work for you, Chris. All right. The key here is to start with something really simple and then evolve it to work with your workflow. So what I suggest to you, Chris, is, if this was an Evernote document, take an Evernote document, and you don't need Evernote. You can use any kind of software. Take an Evernote document and write your yearly goals, okay? And I guarantee if you do that on a regular basis, keep coming back to it and changing it and evolving it and adapting it, then you will be in a far closer position to achieving those goals than you ever would have done if you never had that document in the first place. I can guarantee that. I've been doing this for possibly 15 years, maybe more, and it's worked for me. When I started out in business, I envisaged this is what I want to do, this is how much money I want to make, this is the kind of house I wanted, the kind of car, and it came true in time because I wrote this stuff down and I kept visualizing it. And one of the things is what I also did was I collected pictures. Some people do this. I used to do this in the past. I don't do it now, but I know people that do this. They collect pictures of what they want to achieve. So, for example, if you want to buy a Harley Davidson, that kind of thing, then they collect pictures of a Harley Davidson and keep that in their, in the old school way, put it on the wall. I used to cut these things out and put these on the wall so I'd see this every day, because pictures are really, really powerful. You look at a picture, emotionally you connect with that picture and it's buried and burned into your subconscious. So I think just get into the process of doing this every day. Just keep it real simple. Start with one document on Evernote, your goals document, and write it down and just keep reviewing it every day. And as I said earlier on, it's like that 95% off course. All you're doing with that document is you're pushing yourself back round to the final landing spot, all right? That's all you're doing. But without that document, you're just going to kind of float off and head off, and you spend so much time doing stuff that you don't need to be doing. So those goals will anchor you in achieving what you need to achieve long term. And just the process of writing it down as well. If you write this stuff down, it commits you to this thing, all right? And that's why I like the notebook, because you write this goal, you feel committed to it. Sometimes you don't know what your goals are, but actually forcing yourself to write this stuff down, it's like, okay, I have to think about this thing. If you think about this thing, then you're kind of like forced to act on it as well. Hopefully that answers your question, Chris. If not, let me know. What else do we have here? Yeah, thanks for so many great tips tonight. Yeah, thanks for thanks for taking part, and thanks for the feedback. What else do we have here? Can I quote Rena? Quote and share your sentence in Instagram. Yes, do it. We've got to go out and convert the world. There is a world of people out there. Let's go out and change them, because they don't get it. We're here. We are the minority. Don't ever forget that. If there's one thing I want you to remember tonight, we are the minority. We entrepreneurs are the minority. We're out there. We're up against it. We're swimming upstream. So everything we can do to go out there and convert normal people, the gray people, let's go out and do it. So if you can share that on Instagram and make it a blessing. Awesome. Yeah, Jamie, cool, man. Cool app. Let me know how that goes. Just give me 50% of all the royalties. I'll be happy with that. All right, guys. Loved having you on tonight. Loved your questions. This is telling me to move around. Hopefully, you're getting up and moving around. You haven't been sat in front of me for an hour. You've been standing up and you've been on the treadmill or whatever you've been doing. But after this, get up and move around. Don't sit on your ass. After you do that, implement something. Get yourself a notebook. Get Evernote. Break down your goals. Whatever it is. Anything from tonight. Oh, yes! I forgot to give you the download link. So stick with me for the next 30 seconds. It's going to hit the bottom right-hand side. Over there, guys. There you go. Go and grab the PDF from tonight. Just click that. All the notes there. In that bottom right-hand. Can you see it? Bottom right-hand window. Go and get yourself. Fill your boots. I'll let you do that. We've got about 10 seconds until I end, so click that very quickly, otherwise you're going to miss it. But you'll get an email follow-up, and either follow-up email, or you'll get a download link anyway. All right, guys, fantastic. Loved having you on tonight. full out for an hour. I'll see you all next week.